In this video, we're going to look at working with the send effects. Now, on each strip, we have up to 4 sends. Let's start with this guitar that we were working on. I'm going to listen to it as is now. Alright, so I want to add some delay on it, but rather than add a delay plugin here, I want to send it to a delay on a bus so that I can share that delay with other instruments, like, for example, the synth. So what I'm going to do is dial up some send on the first send, and this is the one that's highlighted. I'll dial it till about 1 o'clock or so, like that, and that's fine. And let me solo that. That's soloed, and I'm going to scroll to the end here where we have our 4 returns. So this is return 1, and I'm going to put a delay plugin on there. Let's go into the delay category, and I'll just use the stock delay plugin, and let's solo that as well. And let's listen and adjust. And we want the wet signal all the way up here since we're sending from the actual instrument strip for this part. We're going to have the dry signal coming from here, so we only need to send a little bit, I'll try a bit less, to the bus so that the wet signal will be coming from the bus and it'll be blended with the dry signal here. So again, let's go back here and listen. So it's a little bit more than I ideally would want. I'm going to put it down a little bit there and maybe dial the feedback down a little bit. Let's listen to that. So that sounds nice. Now let's say I want to have this lead sound that's doubling that send there as well. Let's listen to this alone. So I have some echo or delay coming from this plugin. So what I'm going to do is bypass it. I'm going to turn that off. I'm not sure, I may want to return to it later. I want to leave the option open. So I'm just going to leave it there but bypass. And I'll dial up some send here. That's great. So now if I solo them both with the return soloed, we'll hear them both getting affected by this same delay effect. And it's clearly affected the tone of that synth lead sound because clearly the tape echo had some settings that were affecting the tone that were bypassed. Alright, that's sounding great. Now let's say I want to do the same thing with reverb. I'm going to bypass this reverb here, and that's on the 5th slot, so let's click that and we'll see there that it's grayed out. And I'm going to use send to send to some reverb, and I'll do the same thing. I'll send about 11 o'clock to start with, and on return to I'll put in a reverb plugin. Let's go to maybe a plate reverb, and same thing, we want the mix all the way up here, and let's listen to that. Let's start with working with the synth sound alone. Alright, so that's sounding nice, and I can dial up more or less as I want on a per part basis. Now on the guitar, I think there's some reverb already in the amp setting. Let's listen to this one. There it is. So I'll dial some up here. So two of them together with the delay and the reverb send effects. And I can bring the global level of the return down. Let's say I like the blend. I have slightly different amounts between these two. I just want overall less reverb. I can then just bring this down a bit. So that's sounding nice. Let's do the same thing with the other instruments. So here on this reverb, that's the 3rd slot. I'm going to bypass that and I'll dial up some send to for the organ. And let's hear what that sounds like. Now I have this slider lower. If I want, I can put this in pre-fader mode, meaning that the amount sent here is going to be independent of this slider. So right now it'll probably be a bit louder than what we just heard, a bit more reverb compared to this. So it'll work either way. I think I'm going to leave it in post mode like that, actually, now that I listen to both ways. Great. Now, same thing on the pop brass. I'm going to bypass this reverb. I'll click there, and let's set up send to, and dial some of that in. And same thing on the elastic ARP. Let's go through that, and I'm going to bypass the delay and the reverb. Let's go there and bypass 2 and then 5, and let's dial some of this in as needed. Let's solo it first. So this is 1 now, which will be the delay. And reverb. Great, and as far as the bass and the drums, I'm going to leave those as is. So let's listen. I'm going to take that out of solo mode, and important to remember that these are out of solo mode as well, and we'll hear the whole mix. So that's working nice. We're saving CPU power here by sharing resources. We're only using 1 delay and 1 reverb effect. We get the bonus that all our instruments are sounding like they're in the same space and same arrangement. And we can remove these plugins once we decide we want to commit. So I'm liking this, and again, I'm going to update my multi now. Or actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do save as. In case I do want to revert and I don't like what I've done with the returns, maybe I want to be able to A-B them at a later date. What I'm going to do is go save as, and I'll call this Eli's Mix Multi 02. And there it is. So now I'm going to remove these plugins that I'm not using, and then I'll resave the multi with those gone, and then I can quickly change back and forth if I want to. There's the hall reverb and the reverb there. So I'm clicking once to select it and another to open the menu. Let me just save it now. And now it's saved at those changes, so I can go back to my original multi if I want. I can go to the play page here and load in my regular Eli's Mix Multi. I'll do it real quick. And you'll see now that on the Mix tab, all those plugins are enabled and the sends are not set up. And if I go back and call up the recalled multi, it's going to recall it with those modifications. So it's nice to save variations of the same multi in progress like this. Let's go back to the Mix tab, and we'll see that there are the delay and plate reverb effects, and these are missing, the ones that I've just removed. So everything's good. See you for more in the next video.